All right, team, welcome to the X-Force lower limb isometric protocol. Right now, the goal of these movements, clearly isometric holds, is going to be to build resilience in the ankles, knees, and hips by focusing on our tendon and ligament strength. And we're going to do that by holding pretty simple positions for 20 to 30 seconds at a time, about 2 to 3 rounds in each one of these movements that follows. First hold we're going to do, it's called a Spanish squat. So we'll start by having a band anchored to the rig at about knee height. We're going to take the band, place it at the back of the knee, set for some decent tension, and then from here we're going to sit that hip back to reach about 70 degrees flexion in that knee, and we're going to hold that position here as best we can. So next thing we're going to hit is going to be a wall sit. Pretty common, sure you've done it before, but what we're looking for here, we want to have the feet about 2 feet away from the wall, a position that's ultimately going to give us a 90-degree flexion in the knee. I'm going to have 3 points of contact, the back of my head, shoulders, and tailbone on the wall. I'm going to lower myself, maintaining those 3 points of contact where I've reached about top of the thighs parallel, 90-degree bend in that knee, and again, I'll hold this position as firm and as steadily as possible. All right, team, so the last drill we're going to do for the knee is our front heel elevated split squat hold. So from here, I want to have a platform or a weight just to help us elevate that heel, make that ankle range of motion a little greater. Find that split squat stance, descend down to where that back knee is just off the ground, and we're going to drive that knee forward into flexion. Holding that position as best we can. All right, team, now moving into the ankles, specifically that calf and Achilles region, we're going to be working 2 variations of a calf hold, we'll call it. The first being a straight leg calf hold, following that up with a bent knee calf hold. So ideally we'll find a step with a pretty straight edge that I can stand on here, support obviously to help me hold that position nice and steadily. But from there, as we typically do, feet underneath the hips, legs are going to be extended and locked out, and we'll let those calves sink down in that position. And I'm going to hold this position for that protocol of 20, 30 seconds. Bent knee variation, very similar. All right, we return to that same position. Shifting out of the calf a little more into the Achilles, I'll have the knees flexed just a bit, 10 to 20 degrees, holding that position there, letting that stretch through the calf and Achilles. Now, this last one might be tough to see. I'm doing my best to get into the camera here, but it is a arch lift hold for the foot. Now, just gonna have a marker, whether it be a box or a wall, to place my toes on. And then from there, I wanna have my 3 points of contact. Think a big toe, little toe, heel on the ground. And now from here, I'm gonna try and draw my toes back to my heel. Basically create that arch, clamp it down, pull those toes back, and I'm gonna hold that position for the set protocol, and then relax and reset. All right, team, so for the last segment, getting into the hips for our isometric holds, and we're gonna start things off with a glute bridge hold. Nice and simple, but yet very effective. Start up on the back, land down on the ground, heels, feet flat on the ground. From here, feet are gonna be about hip width apart. I'm gonna drive that hip as high as I can. Right? Hopefully get a straight line running from the knee, through the hip, up into the shoulder, squeezing that hip as high as I can. And also we have the single leg RDL hold, right? So from here, I'm gonna stand up nice and tall, find my balance on that working leg. I'm gonna softly bend that knee. Think about a rod through the hips so my hips don't twist and rotate too much. And then from here, I'm gonna hinge that hip back, raise that rear leg, stretch that hamstring, find my in range hold. Keeping that back leg long, squeezing that heel high, trying to keep the hip as square as I can. Now to end things, we're going to work with a Copenhagen hold or Copenhagen plank hold, but really working on the adductors here as well as many different things. But from here, we're going to place that top leg on the top of a box or a bench, depending on how hard or how high you want to work. We're going to flex the toes back toward us, so we got about a 90-degree bend in the ankle. I'm going to have the same bend in the bottom ankle as well as that bottom knee. And then from here, driving the elbow down, hopefully underneath that shoulder. We're gonna lift the hip, drive, squeeze, and hold that position. Keeping that bend, keeping that thigh parallel to the ground, keeping that hip drive nice and high.